Welcome everyone! In this video, we are in the Great League showcasing another very powerful team featuring double dragons, double shadow dragons to be exact, and this is a battle submission courtesy of Granny Singapore. Member of my Discord and longtime viewer of the channel was able to hit legend with this double dragon backline here along with Skarmory running Flash Cannon. Flash Cannon gives Skarmory better play into steel types such as Bastiodon, mostly up against Bastiodon. So I am excited to dive in. Big thanks to Granny Singapore for the legend run battle submission. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Oh man, I'm excited to dive into these battles. We all know how oppressive Dragon Breath can be from Shadows nonetheless. And here we go. Dunsparce lead. Very interesting. Not quite spice, but I would say much more of an anti-meta pick this season, and Skarmory's going to go right for the Flash Cannon here. A lot of trainers don't expect Flash Cannon, and they don't expect you to Brave Bird very early on in a matchup like this, and they let it go. Doing massive damage with Stab from the Skarmory, and of course Skarmory does tank these neutral Rock Slides quite comfortably here. Can survive two of these no problem and should be able to get the farm down if they choose to stay in, and Skarmory does get the farm down. That is a major obstacle out of the way for Dragonite in the back, and in comes a Poliwrath. So gonna go for the Sky Attack, grabbing a shield, and now gonna pivot into Dragonair here. This is pretty decent, but once Poliwrath begins to pressure with these super effective Icy Winds, of course, that is going to lessen this high attack output from these Dragon Breaths here. And as you can see with the ball, Poliwrath holds up and they make an amazing catch, holy smokes, onto a Trevenant. Oh my gosh, what a catch by the opponent here. And if you are Dragonair, you want to be going for the Aqua Tails on ghost types such as Trevenant, because that is single resisted, whereas Body Slam, of course, is double resisted. Trevenant does get a farm down here. Skarmory is compromised on health. Going to be interesting to see what Granny Singapore wants to do. Going to bring in Dragonair here and sets up a clutch catch onto Skarmory here. You love to see it. And they are going to go Seed Bomb. That does no damage, but Trevenant will get this farm down, but they will not make it to a move in time. The Dragon Breath, fast food pressure, just too much for Trevenant. Poliwrath is at a move, but I think even with the debuff, Dragonair will have no problem farming this Poliwrath down in time here, and down goes the Poliwrath, courtesy of Shadow Dragonite coming in to finish strong. Good game, well played to them. Big thanks to Granny Singapore for the battle submission, always very much appreciated. And here we go, Mantine lead. At a glance, this might not seem so good for Skarmory, but Skarmory actually wins all even shield scenarios, even with Flash Cannon. And it looks like the opponent knows that as they safe swap a Swampert. So very interesting safe swap here. Swampert does outpace and can KO with two Hydro Cannons. Two resisted Hydro Cannons will KO a Shadow Dragonite in the Great League. Gonna go for this Dragon Claw here, grabbing a shield from the Swampert, and now if Granny Singapore wants to hold on to Switch, gonna have to start giving up those shields, and does expend a shield there. Swampert will outpace here, but Granny Singapore commits to the aggressive farm down and will shield this. So shields down on our end here, and this is very interesting. We're not quite sure what's in the back here. Mantine, of course, with Ice Beam, not good for dragon types in general, but Dragonite here is absolutely loaded. Gonna fire off a Dragon Claw here, and the Mantine should probably throw to get rid of this Dragonite. It's putting in so much work here, and does go for the Aerial Ace. And now I would imagine come in with Skarmory, and does, and there's a second Mud Boy in the back, so it's Mantine double Mud Boy. Very interesting line by the opponent. Going to chip with a Sky Attack, but grabs a shield. The opponent shields that. Could have definitely survived, but shields out of caution. And now it is time for Dragonair to put in work here. Mud Bomb does about half the health, and going to fire off a Body Slam here. Whiscash, of course, quite bulky. Can withstand damage quite well. And will make it to another Mud Bomb in time here. Just outpaces the Dragonair. And now Skarmory's going to have to do some heavy lifting to perhaps pull this one off, but still very healthy here, as we can see. Does very much comfortably tank a Scald from this Whiscash, but the question is, Will they get the attack drop on the Scald? And they do, making this a little bit more difficult here as they pivot into the Mantine. Gonna fire off the Sky Attack here. Of course, doesn't do nearly as much damage. Gonna make a farm down very difficult with the attack drop. But Skarmory should definitely survive a Ice Beam from this Mantine. And looks like we'll get the farm down. Leaves with a move, and that will be just about all she wrote for this Whiscash. So, GG's to the opponent. They made that very close. We're saying bye-bye to the Whiscash, and Skarmory left standing in the end, or flying, I should say. Good game. We have a high octane, high attack output backline here with these two very powerful dragons in the Great League. And here we go. Skarmory Mirror. Very exciting matchup here. Just kidding. It's not very exciting at all, but here we are. Two Skarmorys going at it here on the lead. One running Flash Cannon, the other likely running Brave Bird. So it's going to be interesting to see how Granny wants to play this. Of course, you want to avoid a healthy Skarmory with your dragons in the back at all costs. But if Granny can get this Skarmory low enough, could perhaps set up a potential farm down. But we shall see here. So far, we have traded Sky Attacks back and forth here, even on HP. So it doesn't look like either one is hitting any sort of break point here in this matchup. They are keeping pace on damage output here, but Granny does lose the CMP tie, and I do believe we'll just let this go and get an energy lead on one of the dragons in the back here. Does let that go. Gonna come in with D-Nair, get the Dragon Breath down on the Skarmory, and that is a major obstacle out of the way. In comes a Whiscash, right on cue, as you almost always exclusively see a Whiscash paired with a Skarmory and vice versa. So here we are looking at the Whiscash and catches the Mud Bomb, potential Mud Bomb here onto the Dragonite. Holy smokes, what a catch. Oh, that's a very savage catch right there. The question is, what's in the back? If there is a Dragonair in the back, it could be very interesting. But going to shield the Scald here. Of course, that's going to hit way harder. It's not a Dragonite in the back. It is an Annihilape. Down a shield is Dragonite, but wins the CMP tie up against the Annihilape here. And Annihilape can survive, but chooses to shield. That would have done a lot of damage. And it's going to be interesting to see if Granny wants to shield, does want to shield, wants to perhaps get another Dragon Claw in to put heavy pressure on this Annihilape, as it does have Ice Punch, which threatens super effective. Gonna save the D-Nair and pivot into Dragonite and wins the CMP tied to the Aqua Tail. Holy smokes. Masterful gameplay by Granny Singapore. We say bye-bye to the Ape. And down goes the Whiscash, courtesy of those oppressive Shadow Dragon Breaths. Good game. Why run one powerful dragon when you can run two in the Great League and put in work? And here we go. Swampert lead, not the best for Skarm. Gonna save swap in a D-Nair and draws out an Abomasnow. So not ideal, but D-Nair does win the CMP tie and can put pressure on this Abomasnow as it hits like a truck. Grabbing an early shield, you'd love to see it. And Abomasnow is going to go for a move. Granny's just going to let this go. It is the Weather Ball. Seems like that maybe should have KO'd. I'm not sure if they undercharged that. But if they did, shouts to them for the brilliant undercharge there. Skarmory's just going to go for the farm down here. Doesn't have to worry about a debuff as they are running Weather Ball here. So, they should come back in with the Swampert, and they do. Gonna go for the Sky Attack to put the pressure on the Swampert here. Swampert can survive this and does let it go. In comes the Dragonite, and they've got a Shadow Gligar down a shield in the back. Gligar does outpace, but is down a shield here. Needs that shield to take out this Dragonite, and gives up the final shield. 2 shields remaining. And the Gligar is going to throw a move here. And it looks like Granny should just let this go down. Save the shields for Skarm. Go for this really nice farm down here. And Swampert with no shields can do nothing against Swampert. The opponent recognizes that and they exit stage left. Good game. And I'll tell you, if you want to have quick battles and put in work in the Great League, you might want to give this team a try. And here we go. Brilliant Gligar lead. They safe swap a Dewgong though, so that is a very tricky safe swap to handle. As good of a lead as that is, Skarmory is forced to stay in here a little bit. So very unfortunate. But the 2 dragons in the back can generally do quite well up against Gligar. Gonna throw a move from the opponent. Of course, it will be the Icy Wind, of course. Skarmory gonna let that go. Does survive, and will survive another as they do make it to Icy Wind number 2 here. Taking tremendous sting off of the output from the Skarmory here. Gonna save the Skarm and pivot into D-Nair and look to CMP tied to the Body Slam. The fast move timing from Granny Singapore on point. We're saying bye-bye to the Dewgong as they let it go. They don't want to go down on shields, and I don't blame them. Very early on to give up both shields, but in comes the Gligar. Gligar will outpace here and does go for the Aerial Ace to get rid of this Dragonair here, but Granny Singapore not having that. Wants to put the pressure on as they pivot into a Vigoroth here and going to fire off the Body Slam. So shields are now even. Vigoroth lets that go. And we'll be able to get a counter down. Not quite. Oh my goodness. They got a little greedy, allowing Dragonair to get to this move, and they let it go. Oh my gosh. Oh man, this is over. There was no hope for that Gligar. Good game to them. Oh man, Skarm double Shadow Dragon is absolutely terrorizing the Great League here. And here we go. Annihilape. Not the best for Skarm, despite having the type advantage here. As Annihilape with the counters, the neutral counters with Stab really do add up against Skarmory. And of course can hit with Shadow Ball that does tremendous damage, but Skarmory survives it. And gonna put the pressure on the Annihilape to shield here or lose lead. They do shield the Sky Attack, pivots into Dragonair and is punished with a Dewgong in the back. So that's the beauty of Dragonair, only single resisting ice as a safe swap can draw out that hard counter. Classic ABB mechanics working to perfection here. But going to shield this as the Skarmory is quite compromised on health, and an Icy Wind would have absolutely KO'd, but able to make it to the Body Slam here and should just about KO it. Does not KO, but the Dragon Breath does the trick. Dragonair, OP, holy smokes. So now it's going to be interesting. They do come in with the Annihilape to get another counter in. And this is getting very tricky because Annihilape still has a shield and can counter down the Skarmory, but going to come in with Dragonair and makes a catch onto Skarmory. Holy smokes. The finesse from Granny Singapore, absolutely on point, making that very clutch catch there. They have a Licky in the back, so this is getting very interesting here. Granny's going to full send the superpower. This is a Shadow Dragonair, and we are saying bye-bye to one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the Great League. Holy smokes. And can farm down due to that very clutch catch from Granny Singapore. Good game. Man, double Shadow Dragons is making quick work of these Great League teams here. Holy smokes, what a powerful backline. But here we go. Ferrothorn lead. Pretty good for Skarm, but they save swap at Jealous and going to meet this with the Dragonite here. This is just a Surf, and Dragonite can survive this, but Granny Singapore is going to shield the Surf to maintain some health on this Dragonite here. Gonna go for the Dragon Claw on the Jelly. It will survive it, and they do let it go. And they will not make it to a move in time because Shadow Dragon Breath is OP, guys. Holy smokes. In comes the Ferrothorn and Dragonite, much like in that previous battle. Gonna full send the superpower, and they let it go. Holy smokes. Oh my gosh. Superpower was an amazing addition to Dragonite a few seasons back. My goodness. And they do go Power Whip. That's not going to cut it. In comes a Skeledirge. And Dragonite is absolutely putting in tremendous work here. Is debuffed, but draws the shield anyways from the Skeledirge. This is a tricky one here, of course, because it can hit for super effective on the remaining 2 Pokemon. Granny Singapore is well aware and makes yet another super clutch catch, catching that resistant damage on the Skarm, but the Incinerates are absolutely chunking, and they throw immediately. That is very interesting from the opponent. Skarmory survives that, and throws on 3 to avoid getting KO'd by the Incinerate. Brilliant knowledge of timing from Granny Singapore. They let it go, likely seeing that there was no path to victory, and they do resign. Good game to them. Oh, these battles have been so much fun. Big thanks to Granny Singapore once again for the battle submission. Here we go. Alolan Sandslash. Not good for this team in general, but this is kind of where you want to see it with this team, with Skarmory. Skarmory can win the zeros, even without Flash Cannon. Gonna fire it off, speaking of here, on the A-Slash, grabbing the shield, as the opponent is likely well aware that they do not win the zeros up against Skarmory. And they are going to fire off an Ice Punch. Skarmory does survive that, but will not survive a second Ice Punch here. It'd be interesting to see if Granny Singapore wants to shield the Skarmory. There's often an Azumarill in the back. Lets the Skarmory go down and going to come in with Dragonair, but the A-Slash is absolutely loaded. Absolutely has to shield a potential Ice Punch, but they go Drill Run. Holy smokes. Does that actually do more? That's very interesting that they went Drill Run. Oh my goodness, they do have an Azu in the back. Much like with Whiscash and Skarmory, if you see an A-Slash, you're almost assuredly going to have to face an Azumarill in the back, and this is not looking good for our 2 remaining Pokemon. Azumarill can easily take out 2 dragons, no problem, even on even shields. It only has to land 3 Ice Beams to take the win here. Granny Singapore is going to put it all on Dragonite, lets the Dragonair go down, and this is not looking good at all. Gonna shield, but there's just not much this Dragonite can do. Like I said, Azumarill can make quick work of 2 dragons, no problem, as it is tremendously resisting this fast move pressure. Resists everything that Dragonite can throw. They don't even have to shield this, and they don't. 1 shield flexing on the Dragonite here, and that is unfortunate. Yeah, Azumarill here to ruin the fun. Does take that one, but good game. Oh man, leave it to Azu to ruin the fun with these 2 dragons in the back here. But here we go, another Alolan Sandslash lead, this time a non-shadow here. So gonna see, gonna be very interesting to see how this plays out. The last one did not go our way, and just as in the previous one, gonna go right for this Flash Cannon here, and they let it go. Holy smokes, that nearly one-shots the Alolan Sandslash. You'd love to see it. That was brilliant. This is a massive obstacle out of the way here. Gonna pivot into Dragonair. We saw Lantern, and now we are staring at a Pelipper. So this is actually looking good. No Azu in the back means that these 2 dragons can absolutely cook. They let the body slam go, and they top left. Wow, they're probably kicking themselves. Good game, well played. Yeah, I bet that last opponent was absolutely kicking themselves for letting that Flash Cannon go, but no one expects Flash Cannon, let's be honest. But here we go, Annihilape. Again, pretty neutral. Not as good for Skarm as you would like it to be. Again, because these neutral counters with Stab really do add up against Skarm, and Annihilape hits like a truck, but they do go Ice Punch there, successfully calling that Ice Punch bait, and gonna fire right back with a super effective Sky Attack, grabbing an early shield. Now gonna pivot into Dragonair here. They're going to stay in to put the pressure on, and Ice Punch would hit like an absolute truck against the Shadow Dragonair and does even up the shields. And speaking of ice, they punish with yet another Dewgong in the back. So again, the ABB mechanics working to perfection, drawing out that super hard counter for Dragonite in the back. And because the opponent got some chip damage in, they should be able to farm down here. They will survive another body slam, but they shield. Very interesting to see from the opponent. And they do go for that aggressive farm down. Skarmory still fairly healthy here. A neutral Icy Wind with Stab will be putting in some work here, but Skarmory will survive this, no problem, but cannot farm down. Not quite going to be able to farm down. Dewgong is absolutely loaded, and Granny Singapore going to let the Skarmory go down here. Got to put the hope and faith into Dragonair. Does get that farm down. Has to tank a double super effective Ice Shard in the process, but they've got a Skarm in the back. Oh, man, yeah, rough team comp here, and it looks like Granny Singapore is just going to let it go. Yeah, that one was not going to go our way, but All we needed was a clutch 3-2 here to clutch the legend rank for season 17. Oh, you'll absolutely love to see it. Congratulations to Granny Singapore for another very successful season in Go Battle League. Like I said, Granny Singapore, been a loyal viewer of the channel for a very long time and is a member of my Discord. Wanted to showcase the legend run here with this very powerful team. And yeah, tremendous battles, tremendous gameplay, and it shows as legend rank was achieved. Congratulations to you, my friend, once again. And guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.